Welcome to Rogue Reviews number 3, and you're in for a treat today. Splendor. Honestly, I can't believe we're having this discussion. Do you not have Splendor already? Go and buy it now. I will wait. Go to Amazon, forget Amazon, go to your friendly local gaming shop, order it now, buy it, and get ready to play. You bought it yet? Good, let's begin. Splendor is one of, if not the greatest small games that we've had the pleasure of playing at our house. It is my wife's favourite game by an absolute mile. This game is all about collecting jewels and becoming rich. This is a fantastic little game. It can be learned in about 5 minutes. We have played it about over 100 times in our house, again and again and again. The theme is very, very light. It's strategic, it's mechanical. This is not a worry for any new beginner. We've introduced gamers to this game at the Whiskey. That's what's made them gamers. So it is such a good game to have. The idea basically is that you are collecting resources, and just listen to this. Listen to how amazing these sound. Splendor won gaming awards for the quality of its components. These are proper poker chip style. I mean, I know they've done a reissue recently and the original style a little bit better, but still, this is beautiful components. So, on your turn, you have a choice of basically collecting gemstone tokens or trading them in to collect cards. For example, if you wish to have one of the black tokens, an onyx, you must already have one diamond, one sapphire, an emerald and a ruby, which you basically have from collecting these tokens. You can also basically have sort of renewable tokens. When you actually have this in your hand, it counts like you've always got an onyx, for example. You've always got at least one diamond. So as you go along, you're building up more and more and more and more cards in your collection, so you can have already prepay for certain amounts. For example, on this card you need 2 sapphires, 2 emeralds and an onyx. However, if you already have in your hand, let's have a look, if you already have some of these already, if you already have an emerald and a sapphire, you'll need to pay an onyx, an emerald and a sapphire, and you can take this card. So what basically happens is that each turn it's kind of a combination between get more jewels or take cards. You can also, if you really desperately want a card but haven't got the right materials, get a gold and reserve it, which means you put it to one side. No one else can get it. You can basically buy it for yourself whenever you want to at a later date, but it means that kind of it prioritises you. These can also be used as joker tokens. Very, very useful. So, as you're going along, you're kind of amassing an army of jewels, which will basically build up how you get more and more and more valuable and expensive jewels. The ones with 0 markings here on the top left just means that they're useful for getting more jewels. The ones that actually have numbers on the top left signify points. Now you're trying to get to 15 points. That's the tipping point for the game. When one person gets to 15 points, everybody else can finish their turn and then you see who's won. So what you do get is people kind of hovering on the edge of 13 or 14 and trying to make a big score at the last second to guarantee that no one else can catch them. So say, for example, if you reckon you can get to just 15 or 16 maybe, but somebody else has got another card that can knock them up to 17 on that last turn, they'll steal victory from you. So you kind of have a rush to get forwards and then kind of hesitating until you're absolutely sure that you're going to win. As well as that, you can aim to collect certain nobles, which may or may not be based on certain medieval, actual, real historical characters. So the idea is to kind of stack and leverage the points you've got available to you so you can score big. Getting multiple combinations is fantastic. So for example, if you're going to go for this unnamed noble whose name doesn't definitely rhyme with Henry the Eighth, then what you'll need is you'll need 4 black cards, 4 onyx cards, and 4 red cards, 4 ruby cards. So I would already have to have multiple of these in my hand already before I can actually score him. But then he's worth a bonus 3 points. All of these are a standard bonus 3 points. And you put out the number depending on the number of players that you have. If you can basically leverage these with one of the top row cards, because they're kind of easier row, green, harder row, amber orange, very hard, blue. These are obviously worth more and more and more points. If you can make that combination in the last turn, you can suddenly jump up a huge amount of points at once. You will guarantee victory. So this game is fantastic to teach. For younger children, this is fantastic to teach people who aren't really gamers, who don't really call themselves gamers, because they will fall in love with this game and you will play it again and again and again. It's really, really good in the fact that it's easy to pick up. I say you can pick this up in about 5 minutes, but you will play it again and again. If you are a little bit more experienced, you start to sort of look out and see the board. When my wife and I play, we just stop, we deal out all the cards and we kind of stop and we look for a few seconds. We kind of think, right, okay, so obviously in this game, green is very important, probably followed by red and white, and then that kind of affects our strategy throughout the game. Really, really amazing, good fun. You will play this so many times. It's great to basically take with you to conventions, to game nights, because a game is really quick. It can take between like 15 and 30 minutes. So you will play this as a nice opener, nice icebreaker game, or you can play it amongst several other games. But you will reach for Splendor so many times. Like, do you fancy a game? Yeah. Fancy Splendor? Yes, let's get Splendor out. It's that good a game. So let's take a little bit of a closer look at the actual board itself, and we can get into some more details. All right, let's have a look at the table view now, shall we? In terms of what you've got to play with, these are your gemstones. We have rubies here, we have emeralds, we have sapphires, onyxes, diamonds, and the gold tokens, which can be kind of used as jokers, independent pieces that can be of any other colours. Plus you can use to actually reserve the tokens, so reserve the cards and basically buy them later, which means that it's kind of a little bit of a sacrifice in terms of when you use them, but it's absolutely vital if there's a card that you know that will be perfect for the cards you have in your hand. In the first few turns, what you'll probably do is just basically collect tokens. Now what you can do is you can either collect 3 tokens of different types, or if you want to, you can collect 2 of one type, as long as there is at least 4 left. If there's basically like 1 or 2 or 3 left, you can't take 2. That would just be ridiculously too greedy. So you've got to think in terms of actually when you want them. If you look at the cards, most of the bottom ones will need about 3 or 4 tokens to be able to buy. A few of them are kind of 2s and 2s, or 2s and 1s, or 1s and 1s and 1s and 1s. Fair enough. Once you start moving up, you have to have 3 of one kind, or 5 of one kind, or 7 of one kind. You can't really do this just from the actual tokens in your hand, because you can only hold a maximum of 10 tokens at any one point. So you have to start collecting cards. Now these are really, really good, because basically once you have a few of these already, it makes everything a lot more cheap. As long as I've got a red card, it basically means I've always got a ruby. So I can just discount any of these cards by 1. If I've got 2 red cards, I can discount them by 2. Now, for a lot of cards in the low row, that won't be too important. But for example, you're not going to collect this one, which needs 5 rubies and 3 onyxes, very, very easily, unless you start having some of these in your hand. So what you find is it kind of washes upwards as the game goes on. It is worth bearing in mind the nobles. For example, if you look at the board that we've got here, we need 4 black, 4 red, 4 red, 4 green, 4 blue, 4 white. Now, it's always an advantage to kind of mix your strategies. So for example, I'd probably ignore Mr. Machiavelli here, and I'd probably go for Elizabeth I and her daddy, Henry VIII, because both of them need 4 red and 4 red. So if I focus on concentrating on red, that means that I've all got a naturally built-in advantage, which means that if someone basically beats me to him, I can always try and go for her. And again, if you look at the board, need lots of greens, need lots of greens, need lots of greens, need lots of greens, okay? 5 reds, 5 reds, 3 reds, 3 reds, 3 reds. This is the kind of thing that you pick up just from basically playing this game again and again and again. You look at the board and you see the strategy. However, it doesn't mean you have to play that way. You can basically just kind of play more opportunistically and wash up as you go along. Another thing I forgot to mention is, for example, as we said, these can be basically used to reserve cards, get them out of the way with so nobody else can take them. And of course, those get replaced immediately because you can't have a gap in the board. The other thing that you can use gold for, if you're really stuck, for example, like if you look here, there is virtually no blue out at all on this board at the lower side. So I can kind of basically take my gold and just reserve the top card face down. And it is, oh, it's all right, never mind. But this is another move you can basically do to kind of, if nobody's taking the cards, they're going to sit there for a while until somebody takes them. So that's another way of kind of breaking a stalemate. It's very, very worth being flexible in your approach, for example. I can see here that, let's have a look. That needs 3 white. This is another thing. You can start off by calling the kind of rubies and diamonds and emeralds. You will very, very, very quickly just turn into red, blue and white. This is especially good for beginning players who don't want to necessarily get into all the lore and the theme. It's like, okay, 2 reds and a white, please, this, and all right, a red and a blue and a green, that kind of thing. So it's very, very easy in terms of picking up. The good thing is when you get to a certain amount of cards in your hand. Let's say, for example, you've already got a certain amount available and you've got a couple of extra tokens. It gets to a lovely point in the game where a card comes out and you can kind of go, well, based on what I've got, I can have that for free, which is fantastic. So, for example, if I've already got, for example, a green, a black, a red and a white, and a card comes out that just needs a green, a black, a red and a white, it doesn't cost me any extra tokens at all. It doesn't cost me any jewels. I can just basically take it up straight away. So that's a little fundamental joy about the game. And what you do find is later on, towards the end of the game, when you need these kind of like higher combinations of cards, but you're kind of picking up cards quite easily, then it just means that you're much more likely to achieve those and also make your way towards the nobles. The other good thing basically is putting in a little bit of strategy in terms of what you pick up. For example, 1 point, 1 point, 1 point, no points here at all. But in the pack here, there are 2s and 3s and 2s and 3s. Realistically, you're lucky to get 1 point down here. This is kind of 1, 2, 3, and this is sort of 3 to 7 at the top row. So, for example, if you can pick up some 2s or some 3s, rather than just 1s, 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 it's much better. But I'm sure you can see the issue here. You need lots of a certain type of gem. Now, this will obviously affect what you start collecting. It's much better to kind of have a broad range of gems. So you've got a little something of everything. However, if you're working towards, for example, one of these very, very high point cards, 7 blue, 7 green, you will need to start thinking about either amassing a big collection of these, which is harder because obviously it's a limited set of resources, or stacking up more and more and more cards. The nice thing though that you can basically work on is that some of these have kind of like, for example, if you saw those two cards one after the other, this is 5 blue, this is 6 blue. If those come together and you're basically collecting a lot of blue because you're working towards this card, then that's a journey that you can find yourself on. 5, 6, 7, 2, 3, 5. Your points will be kind of multiply. This is great when it works really, really well. So, as I said, light strategy, absolutely fine. Deeper strategy, you can bring it in. And of course, I'm not talking Twilight struggle strategy or kind of like extensive depth of RPG players. In terms of a light board game, there is strategy here, but don't feel overawed by it. So, what do we think about this game? I'm pretty sure you can guess already, but let's have the final verdict. So, the verdict. For what do you think? You need this game in your life. I would wholeheartedly recommend anybody and everybody to buy this. Buy it for yourself, buy it as a gift for friends. You will be able to get people into the hobby with this. You'll have so much fun with this. It's kind of like just a game that just naturally worked in so many different directions. The fact that the theme is light is a real advantage for people who necessarily don't want to get into this massive overarching sense of lore to be able to actually play and access the game. The strategy, again, is fairly simple, but there is depth to it. So it won't put off experienced players, but it will make things much more accessible to brand new players. In terms of the artwork, it looks brilliant. It's nice to see sort of little familiar faces that you know. For example, you do not just walk into this game and play this game, says Mr. Sean Bean. You must definitely listen to him and buy this game right now. In terms of the components, there is just a joy about playing with poker chips and thinking about your turn, especially if people actually like playing with the chips and doing the tricks with them. Oh, it's so much fun. So, tactilely, this is a lovely game for you. Visually, it looks brilliant. There's lots of fantastically good art. Strategy-wise, it's nice and delicately complex. It won't be as taxing as the more demanding games out there. You know that for sure. This is a light-hearted game, but the ones who enjoy basically putting tactics into the mix, they will like this game. For people who basically just want the idea of being able to play with their friends, you'll like this game. You can play in teams if you really want to. You can play by yourself if you really want to. I don't think there's actually a solo mode, but there is a separate set of Splendor expansions. We haven't tried them yet, just because we love the base game so much, but we keep thinking, should we buy the expansion? Should we buy the expansion? Should we buy the expansion? So we might actually give in and buy them at some point. But the game itself is just so wonderful. I mean, even just look at the box. Look at the inside of the box. The insert itself is just beautifully sculpted. There is so much to enjoy about this game. And we keep coming back to it again and again and again. It's very, very affordable. It doesn't cost very much money at all, and you can buy it from all sorts of friendly local gaming stores. Please support your local gaming stores, as well as basically various online sellers. And it doesn't take up much space in your things. It's easy to carry around. You could probably actually break it down to smaller components if you wanted to, but the box is so lovely that why would you want to? Seriously, this is a game that you need. Now, we will probably look at something a little bit larger and bigger and fancier next time round. Maybe something a bit more strategy to it, but Splendor is just a joy. Please take it from me. You need this in your life. Thank you as ever for watching. If you want to contact us, you can find us at rogueartistcreations.com, on Facebook at Rogue Artist Creations. Our Twitter handle is at RogueACreations. And if you want to find me, I'm GM First at rogueartistcreations.com. So please find this, share this video, post about us, send people our way, join our mailing list. We would love to hear from you. So thank you from myself, thank you from my wife. So if again this is, our children like it too. But this is a fantastic 2-player game as well as a 3 or 4-player game. You'll love Splendor. So we will see you next time for another Rogue review. Thank you and goodbye.